Hello and welcome to my channel, Meandrous Plays. I'm Meandrous, and on this channel I plan to share with you some of my favorite games. I like to play a lot of single player, colony sims, survival building, city building, that kind of thing. Um, if it's your first time tuning in, please hit that subscribe button. I know it's the first time you're tuning in because this is the first video I have made. So I think we're going to start things out with Timberborn. Timberborn is a little colony sim that focuses on beavers. It's a post-apocalyptic world where the humans have destroyed everything and now we got beavers taking their place. It starts off fairly difficult trying to make sure you have enough resources for your beavers, but after you are self-sustaining, it quickly turns into what kind of mega structure can you build, and it's really open-ended at the end, and there's a lot of opportunity for creativity, and you kind of make your own goals. So with these kind of playthroughs, I would appreciate if you could comment what you would like to see me try to build. If there's a goal you want me to go for, something you would like to see, any suggestions are also welcome. We're gonna just hop right into this. A new game. There are two factions in Timberborn. You have the Folktails, and once you get a little further, you unlock the Iron Teeth. We're just going to start with the Folktails as the base first playable faction, and we'll go from there. Selecting your map is always important. I think for this first one, I don't want the very smallest map, which is diorama, but I don't want a huge map. Having too much stuff, I like being a little limited in space. So I like this Cliffside map. It's pretty basic. It's the second smallest map on the game, so you're not super constrained. But you do have to utilize your space wisely. You don't just have a near infinite amount of space to build wherever you want. I think it'll be a good middle ground for us to start with. So I do like to play these games on hard. Really, that just makes the beginning, the early game, more difficult. You start with a few less resources, and the needs of your beavers are increased. Also, the droughts and bad tides are longer, and it's kind of a race against the clock to be able to have enough stored to survive the longest drought, which on hard mode is 30 days. All right, so let's go ahead and just get started on this. All right, first thing, what we want to call our settlement? I'm just going to go with beavers have castor glands. We're going to go castor center. First thing you want to do is generally pause it and take a look at the map layout you have. So you got these water sources, which if you go into dev mode by hitting Shift Alt Z, you can actually see their strength. So 1.5 CMS, 2 and 1.5. For those not great at math, we have a total of 5 CMS. That'll become more important later on because there are physics for how much water can drain off of a tile and limits how much can fall. Like there's waterfall limits. So to avoid potential flooding, you kind of got to be aware of how much water is actually flowing through. So you have the good water, which as it goes past any terrain tiles, it will irrigate it, and that's where you can grow crops and trees, and that is our green area here. You also have bad water sources, which again, if we go into dev mode, we can see that it's a strength of 3. Bad water, on the other hand, spreads contamination, which is what these orange kind of growing, almost fungus root-like symbols are. That's contaminated ground. There's no consequence to the beavers that walk on that. However, it will kill trees and crops. So bad water is, as the name implies, bad. Also, don't let your beavers swim in it or they will become contaminated, and then that's a whole... You don't really have any solutions for that until much later in the game, and they just refuse to work, so They remain mouse to feed. They drink your water. They eat your food, but they don't do anything for you. And this game is not brutal enough to let you just kick them out of the colony or anything, so they just become a drain on your resources if they do get contaminated. So, first thing you want to do is you got to secure food and water in Timberborn. Shelter is also important, but it can wait a little bit compared to some other survival games. These paths, they have to connect every building, and while you're doing some gathering tasks, your beavers won't always follow them, but when they're going from building to building, they'll always follow the path. And up here in the top right, it will actually show how many spaces away from your district center that path is. So if the travel times from the district center start getting long, you might want to evaluate your routes. Or there's some later in the game, some ways to speed up your beavers through, well, the Folktails have zip lines, for example. But very basic, your district center is a workplace. Has up to 4 workers. You can assign how many. It starts with 2. Since there's no other jobs and we start with 8 adult beavers, I usually right away like to set that to 4. It's not filling those spots right now just because I have the game paused. And that just means I have builders right away, 4 of them, to help build these first couple buildings that I'm going to need. When we lay down this gathering flag, the beavers that are assigned to work there will gather things like berries and a few other things later on in the game. Folktails get the ability to plant chestnut trees, and they will collect the chestnuts from that as well. The blue area is the range of this building. So I like to have it as close to the district center as I can while still being able to reach all of these berries. So I'm going to go right here, because even though this one berry plant isn't ready, it will be eventually, and I want them to be in range of that. So I'm going to plop that gatherer flag right there and connect it to a path. The direction, the arrow right here, tells you which direction the entrance to that building is. We want it facing towards the path. That's all good. Other things we need is we need a source of lumber right away. And on this side of the map, on this side of the river, there are no trees. So we're going to have to look on this other side. And thankfully there are trees over there. So we're going to go ahead and build a pathway over there. Paths are instantaneous. Your beavers don't need to build them. All other buildings, pretty sure all other buildings, need your beavers to actually construct them. So we're getting closer to there. And we're going to put down some lumberjack flags. These are similar to the gatherer flags. It's just a point where a beaver is assigned to gather from that flag, and in this case they're going to gather trees. This one, we want to focus on the dead trees first, because live trees every day have a chance of spawning a seedling nearby. So if we let some live trees last a little longer, they have a chance of spawning some more trees for us, and right now we don't have the technology to grow our own trees. So we want to be very careful with our wood resources in the beginning. So I usually put down 2 of these lumberjack flags because we don't start with any wood up here, any logs. And we need that to get going. Gatherer flags will automatically gather everything in their vicinity that they can. However, lumberjack flags need you to actually mark the trees for cutting that you want to cut. So like I said, we're going to focus on these dead pines. Each of these pines is worth 2 logs. If we look, let's see, where are some other? Up here we have dead birches. Those are only worth 1 log. And up here we have dead oaks, which are worth 8. Some of the most, the flat out most efficient log per tree and growing time there is in the game. See, it actually shows you here that an oak takes 30 days to produce 8 logs. A pine takes 12 days to produce 2 logs. and the birch takes 7 days to grow 1. So the birches are the fastest growing trees. So if you need logs soon and you don't have any trees maturing soon, the birches are an okay option to start with. In fact, early game, when we first get the ability to plant trees, we probably will plant some. Pines are a little better because obviously for this to produce 2 logs, it would take 14 days, where with 1 pine, you could have it in 12. Days for growing logs, oaks are just by and large the winner. So we're going to mark trees for planting, for cutting. And we're going to focus first on these dead ones, just so that we can get a chance of a few more of these live ones spreading some more trees for us. Okay, so once I unpause this, they will go about building this gatherer flag and these 2 lumberjack flags. We have 8 beavers total, and we're going to have 4 in the district center being builders. 1 here being 2 here being lumberjacks, 2 lumberjacks, and 1 gatherer. So that means we still have at least 1 beaver that won't have a job. Well, one of the most important things we need, we have no water whatsoever. So we're going to go into the water tab and get a water pump. You can rotate by hitting R, and you can also hit F to mirror the entrances and just the entire building. It just mirrors the shape at a different orientation. I kind of like the look of this for our first pump. Put that down there. Connect the entrance to a path. And then we're going to need someplace to store the water. So for that, we go over to storage. Water is stored in tanks. Imagine that. So we're going to build a small tank. And we have to set it to water, because this can actually store a variety of liquids for us. A lot of these are much later in the game, but you have things such as antidote, which would help if your beavers got contaminated. Bad water, you can actually collect bad water, and it's used to make dynamite and a few other things. Extract you make from dynamite, and that is actually used to make catalyst, which is far, far in the future, and that makes your bots perform better. Yes, there are bots. You get beaver bots in this game, if you survive to get there. So we have our water source, and that's going to employ somebody once it's done. And that might actually be a fairly good start. I think I'm actually going to make 1 more lumberjack flag to start with, and then we're going to unpause it and let these beavers get to work. And then we'll go from there. It'll take them a little while to realize that I gave them tasks. But we did fill out the rest of our workforce in the district center, and they're going to get to work right away for us. We do have some kits, which are baby beavers, children. They eat and drink, but they do not work until they grow up. So they're kind of a drain on your colony until they grow up, but beavers will die of old age, so you need a constant supply of new kits to replenish the ones that die of old age. Or else you will run out of workers and your colony's done. All right, so now we have up here, we have 8 workers, no vacancies, and no unemployed. That means every beaver has a job at the moment. Once this water pump is done building, however, we want one of our beavers to go in there. So we're going to take 1 out of the district center. When we're not building anything, we don't need extra ones in the district center. Our gatherer is already out gathering berries, which is good. We need some food. Every day in game, every beaver will approximately drink 2 units of water and eat 2 units of food. It's not exact, but it's a good estimate for figuring out how long you have. This might be a good time to note I do have 2 mods installed in this game. One is called Good Statistics, and it just evaluates if my resources are increasing or decreasing, and estimates at the current rate of use how long until my storages are full or how long until I'm empty. So you might see that after there's enough data for it to say, hey, your berries are going down because your beavers are eating more than you're gathering. That is not part of the base game, but I like it. It gives me an idea of my resource consumption. The other mod I have on is ladders. By default in this game, you have stairs and platforms. You cannot climb straight up, which is on a small map makes it pretty difficult. You have to learn how to build good stairs and platforms and make efficient use of that when trying to build vertically. I like to have ladders because although I do understand how stairs work, I am not an engineer and I'm not the best at making an efficient staircase that covers multiple levels. If you guys would like to see me try to play without ladders and play without any modded buildings, we certainly can give that a try, but it might get a little messy. So as we see, our beavers are cutting down the trees we marked for cutting and bringing the resources in to their lumberjack flags, and then the builders are taking those logs and using them to build our water pump and our small tank. I'm going to pause it here for just a second. We don't have anybody working in the water pump right now. We want to change that. We're going to up the workplace priority, and we're going to put the district center at a slightly lower priority. You know what? After we start building stuff that might be risky. Let's just set it for 3 workers for now, because we don't want to build a whole bunch of stuff and then all have them workplace priority neutral. And if our district center is lower, we might all of a sudden not have any builders and then wonder why nothing's getting done. So we don't want that. Each building has its own little storage. Like this gatherer flag can hold 20 berries on its own. These lumberjack flags can actually hold 20 as well of logs. And the water pump can hold 15 water. After the gathering building their internal storage is full, it will not collect any more of that resource until they are moved. So that's why we need this small tank, so that we can have more than 15 water stored. Beavers have a working day, and we have passed the end of working hours. Normally I make it for an 18-hour workday early on. I forgot to do that, so they're actually just going to be lazy now and rest for the day. If you had well-being buildings that add fun and increase their wellness, they would be doing that now. There's things such as campfires and rooftop terraces, all sorts of things to keep your beavers happy and fun and having a fun, good life. When they're not working, they would be doing that kind of stuff. So if we click on a beaver, we can actually see their needs between their basic needs: hunger, thirst, sleep, shelter, and wet fur. They like being wet, they can swim, and they actually prefer it. It makes them happier. So sleep and shelter are pretty closely related. Shelter just means this beaver is homeless. We have not built any lodges yet to house our beavers. So until we do, all of our beavers are going to have a -3 wellness. Sleep, however, they will sleep on the ground and replenish that. So the only time that becomes an issue is if you say make them work 24 hours a day, or maybe even 22. They won't be getting enough sleep, and eventually that will become an issue too, and they'll lose wellness from that. That's why I don't usually go above 18 unless it's an emergency, something needs to be built quick. So the benefit of the wellness is you get these bonuses at certain bench points. So it actually is very much worth it to keep your beavers happy. This bonus, working speed. So that's like how long it takes them once they actually hit the berry plant for them to gather that berry. At a well-being of 5, it goes up to plus 20%. There's also a movement speed bonus at different levels. At well-being 2, you get plus 5 movement speed. As with a lot of colony sims, movement speed is very important. It really dictates how much your beavers can get done in a day, because a lot of the time is spent going to and from their workplace or gathering materials, or if it's an industrial building, maybe making planks, they might have to go grab logs to make into planks. So move speed always is very helpful. And the last one is life expectancy. So that might not seem like the most important, but it does actually help grow your population, because if you're having kits being born and the adults are living longer, your total population will go up. So that's also nice too. It is something to note in this game. We don't want to build our population too fast, because each beaver will eat that 2 food a day and drink 2 water a day. And if we don't have the infrastructure in place to support that, things can very quickly go downhill if we don't have the structure to support that many beavers. So you want to grow so you can keep all your jobs occupied and your beavers doing things, but you don't want to grow too fast. It's one of the pitfalls in this game is if you grow too fast. I don't know why I talked all that time without even unpausing it. I'm going to put it on triple speed. They're not working through the night. Let's get through the night at least. So we're pumping water and we're waiting for the logs to build this. And we did. And we accidentally set it for catalyst. Let's set that back to water and go from there. Water is pretty big early on. So I'm debating, I think I should build another water pump just to get a head start on some water. And I'm going to have the entrance to it closer to the district center and where we have our storage. And I'm going to build another storage too. After we get those 2 built, next thing I want to focus on is a source of food. So what I'm actually going to build is a efficient farmhouse, which employs farmers to plant and harvest crops. So you notice this one's called efficient. Well, that's because the other faction, the Iron Teeth, just have a farmhouse. The efficiency comes from the fact that this can employ 3 beavers versus 2. So it's a pretty useful building. It's a good advantage that the Folktails have over the Iron Teeth in that. And both of the factions have their pros and cons. In general, the theme of each is the Folktails are kind of live with nature, in harmony with nature. And the Iron Teeth are kind of consume, burn logs for power, things of that nature. They're more industrialized for sure. We don't need a storage for logs right now because we're using the logs pretty much as fast as we get them. So what I am going to do is build that farmhouse I talked about. You can only plant crops on the green irrigated land. So what I'm actually going to do is build over here and put my farmhouse here so it's not on that valuable green irrigated land. So that has a range too of where you can plant and how much, just how far your farmers can reach. So after we have that queued up to be built, we also need to plant some crops. The Folktails' best starting food is carrots. Just 4 days and you get 3 food worth of carrots. Sunflowers are in every way inferior. It takes 5 days to only get 2. Well, why would you ever grow sunflowers at all? Well, the answer is in that well-being we were talking about earlier. So if we click on one of these, we'll see nutrition levels. They get higher well-being for having a variety of foods. We got carrots, sunflower seeds, grilled potatoes, grilled chestnuts, grilled spatterdock, bread, cocktail crackers, and maple pastries. So the benefit of having sunflowers is if you have carrots and sunflowers, you now have +2 well-being instead of just the +1 from carrots. So if just a raw food output to survive, sunflowers are bad. But to get a variety of food to increase well-being, you do want some sunflowers later on. But we are going to plant the carrots. And we'll probably just start about there. Now, any square on the grid that has even a little bit of that green counts as irrigated. So we're just going to use up all of these that we can. And that should be enough carrots to start with for now, I think. Beavers are thirsty, but we just don't have much for them right now. So, next thing to talk about is what actually gets hard in this game. Every cycle you have either a drought or a bad tide. A drought means that all of these water sources, bad water and the good water included, dry up and stop producing water. Well, and it doesn't just stay. It will flow entirely off the map. So, you can't be pumping water when there's a drought. Unless, and, excuse me. You obviously lose the water to pump, but you also lose the green irrigated field. You'll notice carrots have a drought resistance. That's how long that square of carrots can survive being non-irrigated before it will die. So they're not super drought resistant. So without water flowing through this river, our crops will die. The way we can help with that is, strangely enough, beavers are good at building dams. And that's what we're going to do. Dams are one of the first things we can build under this landscaping feature. What a dam does is it blocks water until it gets above the little cross point up there. That's through the spillway. And that's at about 65% of the tile's height. So what we're going to do is we're just going to build a basic dam so that even when there's a drought here, all of this water we're using to irrigate our fields and to pump water from doesn't get just dried out and it doesn't flow off the map. We want to save some for when the drought happens. And I'm going to do right here, because my beavers can build from the side, they can actually build infinitely far down. If they are at the very top of the map, as long as they're directly above it or to either side, they can build anything on the very bottom, assuming there's nothing else that's blocking their way. If something is blocking, if something's in the way, like, for instance, if we had up here, we had some beavers way up here, they wouldn't be able to build below this overhang. But they can build infinitely down and only one square up. So with this natural bridge we have here, it just seems like a good place for us to put our first dam. Now you notice each one of these dam pieces costs 20 logs. And that's why logs are so important early on. Also, we have cleared almost all of the dead trees. So we're going to start marking some of these live ones. I want to leave a few just in the hope that even a couple more seedlings will spawn. So maybe we leave that one. Just hoping that maybe a few more will spawn before we need to cut them down. And this is a natural slope right here, and they can actually go down here as well. So we're going to mark some of these too. It's going to be a bit of a rush to unlock the forester, which lets us plant our own trees before we exhaust what we have available to us. So that's one of the first challenges early on, is making sure you don't soft lock yourself by not having the forester unlocked by the time you run out of trees. Let's double check how far these can reach. See, they can't even reach these, so they won't actually do anything. These trees won't be cut. So I've marked enough. I've left a few, hoping... Actually, let's take this one too. This one won't spawn anything because there's already one on every side of it. I suppose after we cut this one, it would. But we'll just clear out some area if we're leaving them to spawn more trees, we want there to be actual potential for more trees to spawn. So we'll clear out just a few more of these and leave it at that. And we can mark these small ones in advance, so once they are fully grown, our beavers will harvest them. So let's go like that for now. Let's unpause it. Probably spent too long paused. I apologize. Nothing was happening. Just my voice was all you had to listen to. No visual stimulation whatsoever. Nothing getting done. Let's fix that by speeding things up a little bit and hopefully get a few things done today. It is nighttime. All of our beavers are sleeping again, and they're not happy for sleeping on the floor. Before I focus on houses for them, I really want at least to get my crops planted. They do take 3 days. At the beginning of the days, you are given... There's a chance for it to announce a drought or bad tide. We went over what a drought does. After it announces if there's going to be a drought, you have 3 days to prepare. Basically, as early as day 2, it can announce that there will be a drought, meaning your temperate cycle when the water is flowing at minimum is going to be 5 days. It can also wait until day 5 to announce that there will be a drought. So the longest, this is on hard mode, the longest you can go without a drought is 8 days with water flowing. So you really want to get as much prepared before that drought as you can. See, our water is completely full of storage. So I think we can pause one of these water pumps for now so that we have enough workers to fill our farm. So it's nighttime again, like I said earlier. I don't know why I thought they would get right to work. We got to wait for them to wake up. Sleepy beavers. And there's our drought warning. The drought is approaching in 3 days. I think we can get this dam done in those 3 days. And that will enable us to be A-okay to survive that first drought. We might need to chop a few more of these pines just to make sure we have the wood necessary. Oh yeah, we'll have plenty with the ones we've marked. We should. Let's see if there's any wood in here. No, not at the moment. Of course not. It doesn't say there is. So yeah, as long as we get this dam done, we should be good to survive that first drought. Because without that dam, these crops would die during that drought. Early on, I don't know the exact numbers, but the droughts last for a shorter duration for the first so many cycles until it starts to get longer and longer and longer. And there is a degree of randomization on there. You can get a short drought even once you're 20 cycles in. You can get as short as 15 days or as long as 30. I think this first one is 3 to 8 days on hard. As long as we get... Okay, our dams are done. So you'll notice, because they block the water until it gets to 65%, the water on the left side of the dam is now much higher than on the right. That is the amount of water we're going to keep in here when this stops flowing. There is an evaporation mechanic in this game, so you can't just stop all the water from flowing and expect it never to run out. It unfortunately does not work that way. It will evaporate. The good thing is it does not evaporate when you have it in your storage systems. Okay, all of our crops are planted, our carrots. So for the time being, we don't need any farmers employed here. So we can actually just hit P for pause, and it's going to free up those beavers to work. Some of our beavers grew up. We actually have 4 unemployed beavers right now. So I think a great use for them right now to unlock new technologies, like what I said we're going to need to plant trees, is we need a forester. Well, we have to spend a resource called science, which early on we get through these inventors. So I think up here in this non-irrigable land. Non-arable. We can't grow anything up here. Let's put some inventors. And we can pause these. I don't want them to spend all of my logs that I currently have access to on inventors. I just want one at the moment. Oh, but we did make a slight mistake here. We're going to have to destroy these carrots. Now, I could just wait till they... You know what? It's only 2 days. Let's let those carrots continue, but let's unmark them for planting. And then we can build a path up here in order to get to these inventor huts that I want to put kind of out of the way. I guess for now, we could pause all 3 of those and just put one down here. Right here on this non-green land that we cannot use as farmland anyway, we'll put an inventor hut for now. And we'll just leave these unplanted so that once we harvest them, they won't replant carrots there, and we can then build our paths. So that way we're not throwing away the 36% of growth progress we have on these carrots, so we can actually get some carrots out of it. So we'll need the science to unlock the forester, but also on the bottom here, it says what the forester takes to build. It takes 10 logs and 7 planks, which means we need a way to get planks. Excuse me. And the way we get planks is with a lumber mill. But you'll notice on the top right of the window there, it says lumber mill, and then it shows 1 beaver. That's how many people can work there. And it also says 50 HP, which I assume is horsepower. I don't know, maybe it's hamster power. I don't know what beavers measure power in. But this building needs power. So we have 2 options to start with for power. We have the power wheel, which I have heard other content creators call the wheel of shame. It is just a giant hamster wheel. Beavers are rodents, so are hamsters. So yeah, makes sense that they would take inspiration from that. And that generates just a flat 50 HP while a beaver is running on it. So that requires labor, is the main downside. It also takes 20 logs to build. We also have the water wheel that depends on how fast the river is going to determine how much power it generates. The downside of this is, 1, it costs 50 logs, which is pretty steep. And it also will not be generating power at all during the drought. So we're a little over a day away from the drought. That's not going to cut it for us. So I think in the interest of the fact that we have a limited amount of trees left here, and we really need to get that forester up and going, we're going to go with the cheaper Wheel of Shame option for now. So this has a direction that it needs. That's where the beaver will come on. That's what get onto the wheel. That's what the arrow's for, just like all the other buildings. And it also has this blue cog. That is where the power will come out of it. So I do want to build our lumber mill in a place where eventually might be a good place to hook up a water wheel, so that at least we have labor-free power during the temperate season when the drought's not going on. So I think right here is going to be an okay spot to start with. We're close to the water for when that happens. For when we get a water wheel up and running. And we can also just put in the Wheel of Shame right here. Maybe that's not optimal. This is all going to be temporary anyway. We're just trying to survive initially. We will not forever have a beaver on the Wheel of Shame. I think it would be a good idea also to get a little more water storage while we can. The water's still flowing. Let's build some more storage so we can just have more stored up. Never hurts to have more water. And besides that, I think we're gonna be looking pretty good for now. And I just want to get through this first drought for this video. I apologize if this one goes a little bit long. Let's put it on the triple speed to speed it up a little bit. I want to get to the first drought and, knock on wood, survive the first drought before we will call this video done for the day. So, like I said, the main goal with this lumber mill is we need enough planks for the forester. We need 7 planks. That's all we need. That's all we want. So we need the 7 planks. We also need the 30 science. Great. We have our inventor hut done. So now we are generating science, 1 per hour, and they're working 18 hours per day. So it should just take 2 days for us to get the science we need for that forester. And that forester acts a lot like the farmhouse. It will plant things for us, but in this case it will plant trees, and they can grow on the green grass, the irrigated, there we go, arable irrigated land. So drought has started. Our water sources have shut off, bad water included. Bad water can be used to generate power too. Just a note, you just don't want to drink it. So thankfully we did have our dam set up. So we do have water still here. So our crops are still irrigated. We're looking at a 6-day drought. Not the longest possible, I think, but not the shortest. We actually have quite a bit of water stored up at the moment. We have 88 water at the moment. So with our 12 beavers, we expect to go through 24 a day. 6 days, that's not quite enough to survive. So we will need to pump some. So I'm going to keep one of these water pumps going. I don't want them both to go because they do drain this water out of here faster. And if this water goes away, then we lose our irrigated land and we lose our carrots, which we're doing okay on food right now with berries. Actually, not really. We're down to 14. That's actually not great at all. Thankfully, we do have carrots coming in soon. We will need a place to store those carrots. So we're going to get a medium warehouse. I know the irrigated land is premium, but we don't have a whole lot of places, unless we go way over here, that's inconvenient to put this. So we're just, for now, we're going to store carrots right there. The only reason I haven't built a log pile for our logs yet is the simple fact that we're going through them as fast as we get them. And these guys aren't doing anything anymore because there's nothing that's not marked in here to cut. And I think it's time to just mark all of this because the forester is in the future. It's coming. I think we could be okay to harvest these and just forsake any potential free tree expansion that we would get for them spawning seedlings. We need the wood in order to build our lumber mill, our storages, everything that we just wanted to build, we need logs for. So we're going to mark the rest of those. There's no sense employing anybody in the lumber mill until we have somebody to also run the power wheel or wheel of shame. All right, good. So somebody hopped in there right away. Thank you. Wow, they have some weird names. Vika J. They are going to be our volunteer for the Wheel of Shame. So somebody's in there, running away, powering, and it's nighttime already. We got exactly 0% of our planks made. So not great progress. Our carrots are done. We want to make sure we unpause this, and we're gonna set these inventors on the lowest priority possible so that we only have beavers going in there when there's no other jobs to do. Because we need our farmers harvesting our carrots and planting more. We are out of food. We do not want to go hungry. Once you go hungry, working speed, I believe, and move speed goes way down. And it's all in all just not a good situation. So thankfully, we ran out of berries right as we got our carrots coming in. So we did not get those in a minute too late. Thankfully, the harvest is here and we are going to be stocked up on carrots. This farmhouse can only store 50 of them, which is why we are trying to build this medium warehouse. In fact, I'm going to set that a higher priority than this water tank. We actually don't want to pump a whole lot of water right now anyway, because we want to keep our crops irrigated. So now we just wait for them to sleep. And they're going to keep harvesting our carrots. They actually, a lot of the beavers came in here and ate some carrots. That's how our carrots went down before our carrots in the farmhouse went down, even though we haven't completed our medium warehouse yet to store them in. If we look up here, we have 6 planks. Remember, our goal is only to get 7. That's all we need. We have run out of logs. So we have a couple options. We could cancel building this and get these 5 logs back. Or, and this is what I'm actually going to do, these lumberjack flags can't reach down here, but there's nothing saying we can't build some closer to that area instead. So let's do that. We'll just build 2, and we can even demolish 2 of these. We don't even need these here right now. Lumberjack flags and gatherer flags are completely free, so there's no reason to feel bad about redoing them, moving them around. And we're going to mark these trees for cutting. This will get us our last few logs we need. We do need 7 planks for the forester. How many logs do we need? We need 10 logs. So each log is converted to 1 plank in the lumber mill. So 1 more of those logs is going to be converted to a plank, and then we're going to pause this. And there we got it, 7. So we pause that, and without anybody on the lumber mill, we don't need anybody on the Wheel of Shame. So we actually freed up 2 beavers. We're going to go ahead and unlock that forester with our 30 science. We have 36. Our inventor has been doing good at getting us science. And I'm going to put this forester right here that's close to where I'm going to be planting trees, but it's not going to be on the irrigated land. So right there, I think, is going to be our spot for that. We have the planks and we don't quite have the logs, but we will shortly tomorrow once they get back to work. I think starting this is going to be a higher priority than anything else, so we're going to put that as the top priority. Apparently, we didn't even need the medium warehouse because we're already eating through all the carrots that we have gotten. The second crop we're going to focus on is potatoes, which looks really bad at first because after 6 days, you only get 1 potato. But you actually don't eat the potatoes raw. You start off with a grill that is unlocked, which burns a little bit of logs, but it turns each raw potato into 4 food worth of grilled potatoes. So in that respect, with a little bit of refining, it's actually 6 days for 4 potatoes, which is on par or very comparable. My math is failing me right now, but 6 days for 4 food is pretty comparable to 4 days for 3. But you have the added benefit of it being another type of food that increases their wellness. And grilled potatoes gives +2. So I think we want to have some of them starting to grow. So let's grow a few potatoes. With how much carrots we have, I think we did not actually plant quite enough carrots to start with. So we're going to have a few potatoes and a few more carrots here. Our water is still going up, and we only have 0.8 days left. I see the water is very low here, though. So we are going to pause this water pump. We probably should have done that before we have more water than we need. Oh, and we were draining this maybe a little fast. because we do want to keep this ground irrigated. Luckily, we only have half a day, and our carrots have a drought resistance of 2 days, so everything should be hunky-dory. Everything should work out. And there goes our water. I was going to plant trees, but we can't even start doing that because I can't even see where the green irrigated land is. So we're just going to have to wait for this drought to finish. Our potatoes might not even make it because they only have a drought resistance of 1 day. So we'll see how long it takes for the water to actually start flowing and get down here. The potatoes we just planted might end up dying, but they barely started growing, so we didn't lose a whole lot of grow time if that does happen. After we survive this drought and we have water again, we know where our trees are. We're going to plant trees, and the next order of business is going to be to get some houses for these beavers. Get rid of that -3 from lacking shelter so that they can get wellness 2 and move faster. I think that is going to be the priority number 1 after the end of that drought. And are our potatoes going to make it? They are. None of our potatoes died. So that is wonderful. And I said this would be where we end it, and I think I'm going to hold to that. So, again, if you enjoyed watching this video, please hit that subscribe button, the like. Please feel free to leave comments. It's my first time trying this, so any advice or tips, what you want to see me build would be greatly appreciated. And until next time,